If we haven't met yet, my name is Rick Titan, and for the last 15 years, I've been studying Eastern philosophy and personal development. And one of the best things that's ever happened to me is making the new friends that I've made as I was vibrating at my very lowest level into now, at this point in my life, at my very highest level. And it's thanks to friends and coaches and some psychologist friends and hypnotherapist friends that I can continue on my journey today. The other part about my life is that I was a professional wrestler once. And just when that was all over, I was at the lowest point I could ever be at. Part of the problem was stress, and the other part was hanging on to old stuff. I mean, I couldn't let go of that career for the life of me. I couldn't let go of the status it gave me, and I couldn't let go of the money. And that caused nothing but pure stress and a lot of anxiety and frustration and anger and blocking out a lot of things from coming into my life. And as a matter of fact, every night when I went to sleep, I was kind of hoping I wouldn't wake up in the morning. That's how bad it got. So maybe you can relate to that space, or maybe you're in more of a medium state right now where you're just stuck. So in this point, being just stuck and being at your lowest possible space, there are ways of steering the mind that I learned over the years and I continue to study and learn now, which really transform a life. They can transform your life if you're willing to do the work, that is. I always compare it to physical fitness. If you go to the gym one time, you're not going to get in shape. If you practice a sport one time, you're not going to get in shape. And if you practice steering the mind one time, you're never going to get into the space that I call the power mind. And that's the highest level. That's the achievement level of the mind, where we can steer our emotions, where you can steer your thoughts, and where you can direct yourself and your soul and your humanness into being in a certain space that you want it to be in. You know, I learned how to be. I learned what to be. I learned how I wanted to feel through all these practices. And yes, it can be done. Not by any stretch of the imagination am I perfect, but I've got some great coaches and great friends, and I continue to coach people now at Better Medical Center right to this day. And one of the things I learned is that stress is one of the highest things that causes all our problems. And beyond that, though, stress is pretty hard to recognize. I work with Dr. Natasha Iyer at Better Medical Center, and she finds out people's cortisol levels. And when they're really, really high, it means you're really, really stressed. And the problem is that because as we get a little bit older, we have all these small stressors happening in our lives, and they happen so gradually. It's sort of like the frog in the boiling pot. Never heard that story? So if you put a frog in a pot, turn it up, as it gets slowly hotter and slowly hotter, it's going to boil. But if it's already boiling, throw the frog in the pot, it's going to jump out right away. It's going to be scarred a bit, but it moves on, and it's fine. What typically happens is these events happen very slowly to us, and we don't even recognize that they're happening. But a great way of recognizing them then, and this is the first tip we'll start with on the channel today, is that if you can recognize what I call the three inner enemies, anger or frustration, or not letting go, attachment to old things, people or places, situations, that causes us inner pain, and aversion or avoidance of things that are good for us. You know, when you avoid these things, when you have a short temper, when you're hanging on to old things, you're not in a good space. I can say that firsthand. I was a really angry guy after my wrestling career. And what I learned was certain ways to move out of that, how to steer the mind. And when you can learn to steer your own mind, you can actually control your own feelings. You can control your emotions, your heart, your soul, even your physiology. I learned how to slow down my pulse, which I think is pretty cool because it helps in physiology too. I'm not going to have high blood pressure. I'm not going to end up with a stroke, not a heart attack, because I've learned to tone my whole body physiology down through some of these methods. But first, today we're going to start with anger. So I knew I was spoiled rotten in my wrestling career. I was making way too much money for a guy my age. And I had a short temper, I had a short fuse, and I was always used to getting my way. Well, within the universe, or within God, with unconditional and altruistic love, it's not meant for all of us to always get our own way. And that causes ego. So my ego grew all the time too. And this turned out to be a big, big problem for me. because I became a real angry person. And I've got clients today that have had problems like losing their job over their anger, losing their partner over it, and their kids never wanting to be around them, which then the kids can be taken away if it gets bad enough. Because nobody, correct me if you think I'm wrong, but nobody wants to be around a really angry person. And that's where it all starts. So it can even be subtle anger that we need to take care of. It can be kind of medium anger, frustration, taking things out on people a little bit, or it can be over the top anger. And I know maybe you've experienced this too, but what I was modeled after and what I saw growing up was either to suppress anger or to explode. Neither one of those are healthy, because suppressed anger turns into anger turned inward. That causes anxiety, that causes adrenal fatigue, and it squeezes out sideways sooner or later, so you're probably going to explode anyway. And what I learned over the last 15 years, and still continue to learn because I'm a lifelong learner and I love it, is that we don't have to explode. We don't have to suppress. We can actually move through the anger. So this is the first of many to come. Subscribe to my channel today, and you're going to get all the information you could ever want to change and transform your life, to live how you want to feel and be who you want to be, and live in your power self.